I teach mathematics for kids that struggle in math and other subjects. They can be anywhere from 3 to 4 years behind level. The class sizes currently, because they have codes and they have learning disabilities, they're smaller class sizes. So my class size can be approximately 20 kids. I have a child care worker that's often in the room with me, and I can move at a much slower pace to meet their needs. If this goes through, that won't be the case. All of a sudden, I'm going to have, I could have 30, 35 students that have learning disabilities in my classroom and not a child care worker to also help work with them. Currently, I can individually work with them or have my resource teacher helping them out to understand the material. And if that happens, I'll be lucky if any of them are really getting what they need.
One of the reasons why that teachers are taking action is for classroom management. Unfortunately, we are facing classes that are much bigger. We're facing classes that are reaching its limits of 35 and plus. Recently, I just finished teaching a class of 38, and that really affects the quality of teaching. Ethics is already 2 on 9, meaning I see them once a week, and to put a class that potentially could be 40 or more means that I have to focus more on classroom discipline rather than the content. My job as an ERC teacher is to teach about pluralism and the pluralistic diversity of the world, and instead I'll be focusing on you be quiet, please don't talk, could you not make that noise? And that is very dumbfounded to me. And I really think that people need to understand that quality also is in numbers. It's not a quantity, it's quality. And in order for a teacher to have quality teaching, we have to have a reasonable number. I'm not saying that 30 is not bad, but 40 is outrageous.
I think one of the major concerns I've had in my career so far is the basic problem with respect for the profession from the government. It seems clear that in looking at the history of the relationship between teachers and the government, that they have very little concern for us in terms of what we actually do on the ground. And it just appears that they're either completely unrealistic in terms of what they think is going on, or they already know what's going on, and they just systematically ignore us. So instead of really talking to us about those things, consulting us, creating bodies where we can really inform them in regards to what the educational reality is, they completely ignore us. I think the last 40 years of negotiations with the government, and certainly you see it, where they've legislated us back to work 12 out of the 13 negotiations, where even when I had a conversation with a QPAT representative and asked him, well, what's our bargaining power? And he said, we have absolutely none, so you just basically have to accept what the government is giving you. So there's no mechanism for us as professionals to actually be heard. And that's a travesty of justice, it's a travesty of education. We suffer, but more importantly, our kids are suffering, their education is suffering, and we're left supporting a system where people don't understand that the education itself is a problem, and we end up just supporting it because we're dedicated and we're committed and we love our kids, we love our jobs.
The most important reason why teachers are taking action here in Quebec has to do with the threats to the learning conditions of our students. It is no exaggeration to say that the government of Quebec is proposing to rid our contract of absolutely every clause that protects the learning conditions of students. So there we're talking about the limits on class size that currently exist, as well as a whole range of supports for students with special needs. But that said, though the situation of our students is our primary concern, we are also concerned about what the government is proposing with regards to our salaries. We are currently the lowest paid teachers in Canada. We are currently earning about $20,000 less a year than our colleagues just across the border in Ontario. And there's a reality here, and the reality is that if the government doesn't invest in teachers, doesn't pay them a decent salary, they will fail to, or they will not be able to attract into the profession quality individuals. The government, every time they're talking about salaries of senior bureaucrats at Hydro-Quebec or something like that, they're fond of saying that if we have to pay for quality. If we don't pay the salaries, we won't have the quality individuals. Well, the same logic applies for teachers, or should apply for teachers. And parents need to understand that teachers' salaries are a major factor in protecting the quality of education. The proposal that the government is making right now would see our inflation-adjusted salaries over the next 5 years go down by about 7%.